Hello, welcome back. I am Nikki the Great coming at you again with another message. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about sinology. Sinology. There's a study to sin. There is. If you have not already, please subscribe and hit that little notification bell so you can be made aware of any new videos that I post. For the record, a sin is an act or offense against God. A sin is an act or offense against God. There are 4 types of sins that we are going to be discussing. And I'm going to give you an example of what they are. There are different types of sins, and there's different, qualifications of a sin to put it in a certain category. The first one that we're going to be talking about is called an iniquity. An iniquity is like a lack of justice or fairness. In the book of Psalms, in Holy Scriptures, King David had performed an iniquity against one of his captains, okay? He had taken Bathsheba, and because he took her, he kind of finagled his way into indirectly killing her husband. So he did an injustice, and he was unfair to Uriah, a gentleman that worked up under him so that he could take his wife. That is an example of an iniquity. Number 2 is called a trespass. A trespass is an unlawful act against someone or their property. A really good example is in the book of Genesis. I believe it's in chapter 31. It talks about Jacob and his father-in-law, Laban. And Laban had kind of tricked Jacob into marrying his daughter, his first daughter, when really he wanted the second daughter. And even when he worked all those years for the second daughter, his father-in-law continued to kind of trespass against him and continued to kind of finagle his way into having Jacob do more work for him. That is an excellent example of a trespass. Not only was his father-in-law being unlawful in the bridal price for his daughters, but he was also trying to be unlawful when it came to property, when it was time for the two to separate and go their own separate ways. The third one is a transgression, okay? A transgression is when someone goes against a law, a code of conduct, or a rule that has already been established. A really good example is of a story of Daniel, and Daniel has plenty of stories, but it is with him when he is thrown into the lion's den. The reason why Daniel, the prophet, was thrown into the lion's den is because he was guilty of a transgression that was made with a law of the Medes and the Persians, okay? This law was particularly made specifically for him to get him in trouble. But the way that God operated with this so-called transgression that was made up specifically for him, his punishment for the transgression was going to be thrown into the lion's den. And with him being thrown into the lion's den, God still upheld him, even though he so-called broke a rule or a law for the Medes and Persians. He continued to make God number one. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you have to make a decision between God or man, you always make your decision to be for God, even though sometimes man might refer to you breaking their code to uphold God's code as a transgression. Because in the long run, what happened to Daniel in the lion's den? He survived, and his enemies that set him up for bad, they ended up, not only them, their families, their wives, their children, their entire household, ended up getting thrown into the lion's den themselves. And scripture says that before they even hit the ground, the lions attacked them and killed them. The fourth one is referred to as an abomination. An abomination. And this word can get kind of tricky and sticky, okay, especially in the public domain. But I'm going to go on ahead and explain to you what an abomination is. An abomination is like the worst one. It's an action that is wicked, vile, disgusting, morally wrong. It's like the epitome of sin. And I'm going to share with you a scripture that talks about some abominations, okay, because there's a list of abominations, okay, and this is going to be taken from Proverbs chapter 6, verses 16 and 19, the real quick 3 little verses. Here it goes, okay? These 6 things doth the Lord hate, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him, okay? A proud look. So you thinking you're better than somebody is an abomination. A lying tongue. You being a pathological liar, that's an abomination. Hands that shed innocent blood. If you're killing people for no reason, that's an abomination. A heart that devises wicked imaginations. Okay, so if you're deceitful and cunning and try to trick people out of things, that's an abomination. Feet that be swift in running to mischief. If you're always trying to get into some foolishness, God considers that an abomination. A false witness that speaketh lies and hath a sow discord, that soweth discord among the brethren. So if you're into drama and you're always in the keeping up mess and lying on other people and just your feet quickly running to cause division amongst people. Okay. And let's mention another abomination, one that is talked about in the book of Leviticus, chapter 18:22. And it says, thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is an abomination. And that's just in reference to homosexuality. Thank you so much for joining me with this video. I hope this helped the study of sin, Sinology. I give you 4 different types of sins and their categories. My name is Nikki the Great, and together we are growing, sharing, and thriving.